Hello, dear friends. Welcome again to the soliloquies in Hamlet that I have been discussing with you. And today we will continue with the fifth soliloquy of Hamlet. Now, Hamlet in the fifth soliloquy occurs in Act 3, Scene 2, when he has been summoned by Gertrude to her chamber. And Hamlet at this moment is in a mood in which he is extremely broken. He's distorted. He's completely out of his mind. He's gone insane because he doesn't want to meet or come in contact with his mother. In this melancholy, he could even kill his mother, but his heart will not follow the example of the ancient Roman Emperor Nero, who brought about the death of his own mother. Hence he says, "Let me be cruel, not unnatural. He shall certainly stab and wound her mother, but his wounds, his words and remarks will not stab her with a dagger. No matter how much he condemned her with his words, he must not allow his soul to put his harsh words into action." This is what he decides. So this is what happens in the fifth soliloquy. Now in the sixth soliloquy, which occurs in Act 3, Scene 3, Hamlet emphasizes his dilatoriness, or you can say the slow, sturdy nature, and his tendency of procrastination. That I already told you earlier. The procrastination is one of you can say the procrastination basically is a tragic flaw of Hamlet, because he's thinking again and again how to work upon his program and his schedule to murder Claudius and Gertrude. So Hamlet is prevented from from killing the king at his stage by the thought that by laying him now, or in fact killing him now, slaying him now, when he's at his prayers, he would be sending him straight to heaven. So hence he decides not to murder him at this moment and to wait for the opportunity. He should kill him when he has his father fallen into a drunken slumber, or when he is in furious mood, or in the incestuous pleasure of his bed, or while playing or swearing. So now again in the sixth soliloquy, Hamlet decides that he is not ready to kill Claudius while he is praying, because he feels that if a person is praying at that time, if a person dies, then definitely the person goes to heaven and all his deeds are being washed off. That has no relish of salvation in it. But since the king is at his prayers, he postponed his act of revenge, but that only means prolonging his sinful life for a short period of time. Now in the last and the final soliloquy, in Act 4, Scene 4, Hamlet compares the army under the Fortinbras, who although have had cause for revenge against the Poles, nevertheless leads his men, thousands of whom will die a soldier's death in a struggle for a useless stretch of ground, hardly large enough to accommodate all the soldiers taking part in the battle. Now he contrasts this with his own inaction, for he has such strong cause and yet stays from taking steps to secure that revenge. How all occasions do inform against me and spur my dull revenge. So now again he is deep into procrastination. A man is no better than a beast if he is satisfied only with sleeping and feeding himself. This soliloquy again exhibits Hamlet's irresolution and his reflective nature. So the soliloquies of Hamlet deepen Hamlet's tragic character by portraying him as a thinking man. So here we can say that we have at least 7 soliloquies, in fact total 7 soliloquies in Hamlet, and they reflect about the deep procrastination thinking of Hamlet. Now there is a quotation by Granville Barker. He says the chief use of these glimpses of the sounder Hamlet is for a counterpoise to the soliloquies, where at first blush we might expect to see him as he most unfinely is when we see Hamlet in a way alone, as he is either lapsed in self-consciousness, grief, or savagely self-reproachful. So this is, we can say that he's either savagely reproachful or he's in extreme grief. Now wrought to murderous excitement or in suicidal despair, and when in the calm of defeat he deliberately questions himself, he has to admit that he knows nothing of himself at all. So basically we can say that the soliloquies in Hamlet are a kind of a self-introspection of the character that is Hamlet, and how he goes through the ups and downs of the dilemma that he's facing, okay, and the trauma that he's going through. So Shakespeare has intermingled, he has amalgamated all these traits, all these confusions, all the you can say the happenings that is going on in the mind and in the heart of Hamlet. And basically, fundamentally, what is there behind it? Behind it, there is revenge, extreme revenge. So that's all. Thank you so much.